as you can see, I'm running a completely new sort of design for my stream. Hopefully it's a little bit simpler, but it also has a few things that are brand new and visually appealing. That was the goal there, visually appealing. So, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. SQL Dev Debia here, and today we're just going to go through an API. As you can see in the title and the notification, whatever you got. First, type error dev, hello. Sorry I didn't say hi earlier. Hope you are doing well. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everyone for being here. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go to a very simple API. It's a really simple API that shows the location, the current location as of X amount of seconds, 5 seconds, I think, of the International Space Station that's in dev. Hey, type error dev. So we're going to track that. I'll show you how to just look at the website that has the API. Then I'll show you how to explore the API using Postman. Then we're going to use PowerShell. Man, these ad breaks are just crazy. Hopefully it's okay. But we're going to show how to navigate it in Postman, how to download the data in PowerShell as well, down to CSV or down to SQL Server. And then we'll show how to explore the database or the data itself in SQL Server and also in Power BI. So I'm hoping we can do like a nice little tracker. I'm hoping, but the reality is I did this yesterday in Spanish, so I know it works. I just wanted to make sure you all have what you need as well. Why is my bit rate so horribly low? I'm gonna have to restart my router at some point, but hopefully we should be okay. All right, so let's get started. Let's take a look at step 1, which is just navigating the website. Then step 2 will be Postman. Step 3 will be PowerShell to CSV and hopefully to SQL Server, but I highly doubt it. And then step 4 will be SQL Server itself. We'll just import the file manually. It's pretty easy. And then step 5 will be Power BI. So we're gonna try our best to just hang in there and do it all. If you're watching this on YouTube, right there, there's chapters. If you don't like my babbling, that's okay. I'm not offended. I like to talk, as you can see. That's why I'm doing this, because I like to talk and I want to show you for free how to do what I do. So if you want to skip ahead, if you find yourself in a section that's kind of boring, feel free to skip ahead. There's chapters all along here. I'm going to have all the scripts, all the diagrams that we're going to create today, the PBIX for Power BI. I'm going to have it right there in the description. Am I pointing to the right description? Probably no. But I'll have it all. I'll have it all there for you, and you can feel free to just use it, follow along if you need to, or just take the work itself and do other stuff with it. It's pretty easy to do. So let's get started before I talk too much. I think that's already happened. All right, let me check the cameras. Just making sure everything's okay. Kind of. I think this keyboard cam, by the way, let's do a quick tech check, right? The keyboard is, let's switch over to keyboards. Hello, DZUB, how you doing? Good to see you. Hope you are doing well. Hola a todos, muchas gracias. Today we're doing an English stream. I did one in Spanish yesterday. If you have any questions in any language that I can understand, please feel free to ask them. I'm happy to have you here. And I will do my best to answer any questions. Thank you. So the keyboard brand I can't pronounce. I've never been able to pronounce. I tried looking at their YouTube channel, can't pronounce it because they never say the name of the brand. So I'm gonna go with KZZI, KZZI. Not enough vowels in the name, but hey, KZZI or K75 Lite. K75 Lite is the keyboard. What's interesting about this is, as you can see, the keycaps have no letters on them. So you would think that you have to sort of just feel your way around or try. But the cool thing is that if I actually flip it over a little bit, you might be able to see that there's actually letters marked right here. on the front. So when I'm looking at it, it's absolutely fine because I can see the keys, but from above, it's completely blank. So I really do like it. I love the feel of the keyboard. This is like the creamy type sound. So huge fan of that. And the mouse, Keychron M7. It's doing really well. It's a really good alternative to the Logitech MX Master. I have 3 MX Masters, and I really like this one as well, the Keychron M7 mouse. So if you're looking for an alternative, Keychron M7. It's strange, but for some reason I thought you were in Spanish. Thanks, I'm fine. How are you? I'm doing really well, thank you. We are trying to stay home today instead of going to like Disney or anything because we don't want to get sick, because we have a trip coming up later this week. So we want to be nice and healthy. And if we go to Disney, there's like, I don't know, 50% chance we'll get sick. That's the risk you take when you go to Disney for a day or a couple hours. You never know. You never know if you're going to get sick. So we're staying home this weekend, doing some streaming, doing some prep work for some projects I have coming up. I asked my Spanish viewers yesterday if they wanted to see sort of a, how do I say, like a SQL and chill type stream where I don't talk, where I don't really explain what I'm doing too much. It would just be keyboard sounds, some lo-fi music, and just me watching me work on some projects here. So I'm probably going to try to do that during the week and see how it goes. If you have any suggestions on that, I'm happy to hear them. Hopefully that will be something where I can keep streaming more often, but I don't have to have the pressure of answering any questions or anything like that. But the reality is I like answering questions live. That's why I stream and don't record videos that much, is because I like answering your questions. I like the interaction. So it's very difficult for me to sort of step back and just not answer questions or answer them only in chat. I don't know. I did it once or twice already and I liked it, but at the same time, it was too much pressure. Not like I wanted to answer the questions, but I couldn't because of the premise of the stream. So hopefully we'll see how it goes. I don't know. You let me know what you think when you see it, and we'll go from there. Okay. You want to get started? Let's get started. Let's hop over to our Safari. And it's dead too. Oh man, everything's just super fun today. Let's fix that. Okay, let's see if I can fix my Safari so that it shows up. That's what happens when I have to like reboot OBS. Everything just dies. There we go. Okay, that's Safari. While I'm here, I'm gonna take care of the RDP, like my Windows machine, because I'm pretty sure that's broken too. So let's see. Yep, it is totally broken. So we're gonna fix that. Super. That doesn't want to get fixed. So let's see if I can do this instead. I think now it should. No. Come on, buddy. You can do it. You can do it, OBS. Oh, there we go. Okay, I think that works. Let's see. Yes. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. I think I got it working. All right. I'm gonna try one more time. There's Safari. Did it work? It sure did. Oh, the joys of live programming. There we go. Okay, so let's check out the website. The website is open-notify, open-notify.org. If you type exclamation dataset or dataset, whichever your preference is, I won't complain. You'll see a link in the chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, there'll be a link in the description as well. This is the website that I was browsing yesterday. It came from a list of APIs that I've shared before. Just a list of like some open and public APIs that you can explore. this one came up as one of the interesting ones for me. I was between this one and a Best Buy data set, but unfortunately Best Buy, they tried to send me the token. That didn't work, so I went ahead and just moved on. But I'm glad I did, because this is a really simple API, but I think it's really, really cool. I don't think there's many like it that are free and just show you the live location down to 5 seconds of the International Space Station. I think it's really cool, and I'm really glad that I stumbled upon this one. But basically, you can see the website is sort of updating every 5 seconds with the coordinates over the planet Earth. So I just want to take a second to thank Nathan, because Nathan is the creator. You can follow them on Twitter at Natronics. So huge thanks to Nathan for giving us this data, and for apparently Nathan put this together in 2010. So very cool. And the purpose was to have a lamp that lights up whenever the International Space Station flies over the lamp, or the physical location of the lamp. That's pretty cool. Today we're just going to use it to track the actual space station, and hopefully plot it out in Power BI. Again, hopefully, but I already did this and I know it works, so I just want to show you how I do it. All right, so let's get started. Basically, we're just going to go home to the primary page, and then you can see that it says there's 3, but there's really 2 endpoints here. For those of you who are not 100% sure how APIs work or application programming interfaces work, just think of them as like a drive-through window, or just a walk-up window to a nice restaurant, or just any restaurant. At that walk-up window, if you just go to the walk-up window instead of going to like inside the restaurant, you only get a couple of different meals, like 4 or 5 options or whatever they have listed in the window. You order that, maybe add a modifier or 2, and then they give you that. That's pretty much it. You don't sit down, you don't customize anything, you just make an order, you get something back that you ordered, and that's it. And I know you might be thinking, well, that's normally how restaurants work too, but just think of it as like a very simplified method and a contract. Whatever you ask for it, that's exactly what you're going to get back. So this drive-through window or walk-up window has 2 endpoints, 2 orders. And maybe you can think of them as 2 different windows. I don't really, whatever it takes for you to be to think of this as a simple solution. But the first one is the current location. If you click on current location, you will see that the endpoint is just api.opennotify.org ISS/ISS.-now.json. All that gives you is this message right here, which is a success message or an error message, a Unix timestamp, and we'll talk about what that is and how to use it soon, and then the ISS position. That's it. The ISS position. Latitude, longitude. That's it. That's all you get back. You just ask for the ISS now, you get back a position. All right, that's the first one. And then the second one, if we go back, is the number of people in space. This one would have been really cool, the overhead pass predictions. Hey, how's it going? Dev Nix, great to see you. Hope you are doing well. Okay. Sorry, that freaked me out a little bit. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing that. I forgot I set that one up. That was hilarious. Okay. So ISS is currently over, and then you can see the coordinates. This one updates every 5 seconds on the website, but when you call the API, you can call the API every 5 seconds in order to get the live location. Now, please be kind. Please be courteous. Please don't slam this thing with calls every 2 seconds, every 1 second, or 100 calls a second. It's really not necessary. Nathan is offering this service for free. Please be responsible. I tried to see if I could find source like a coffee, buy me a coffee type link, but I think I'm just going to contact Nathan directly and ask him if there's any sort of donation I can make or anything like that, because it's really cool and I'm using it for my content. So I want to make sure I'm sort of respectful about that. But the least you can do is please don't flood this thing with calls. It's really not necessary, and it's a really cool resource. I would hate to see it go away. So please be considerate. All right. Wrong window. This is the one we want to go to. Okay, so as you can see, updates every 5 seconds, and when we call this one, we get that, right? Then we have the number of people in space. Number of people in space, what it'll do is return a message, whether it's successful or not, and this one returns a count of number of people in space. As you can see, here's a field called number, and it just shows the number of people in space, and then you get a list of the people. You get a list of the people, and we'll see what that looks like in a second, because we're going to go recreate these in Postman, right? So let's go ahead and recreate these in Postman now. Okay, so here we are. What we're going to do is open Postman, and I'm just going to leave a link to Postman here. Postman is my preferred tool to explore APIs. It's free, so you don't have to pay any money for it. I've been using it for 10 plus years, I think now at this point, and I haven't paid any money just yet. And it just allows you to explore APIs without having to have your own connection. It's all online, it's all in the cloud, and so you can go to any device that you're on, whether it's a laptop or an iPad or a Mac like I'm on, and you can go right to your workstation, or to your workspace, I guess, and start calling APIs. You don't have to set anything up. You can just start calling them pretty quickly, and we're about to do that right now. I've used it in the past for prior projects. I'm sure you've seen those. If you haven't seen prior projects where I use API, I just did one last weekend on NOAA weather, where we explored NOAA station weather station. So you can see right here, it says NOAA weather right on the left side, right above ISS. And that video, if you're interested in it, is going to be right up there. Am I pointing correctly? I think I am. Hopefully I am. So you can basically use that video to set up an API collector with PowerShell for NOAA weather stations and even NOAA data. You can just sort of take it from there. That's probably what I'm going to be doing in my SQL and chill streams, where I don't talk. I'm just going to be sort of rolling that API consumption out, because I think I only got like 1 of 7 done. So I need to work on the rest. All right. So again, we go back to this documentation, and let's do the current location first. So we have the current location here. What we're going to do is copy this link right here. Just copy that URL. And then we're going to just create a brand new request. As you can see, I already have them set up, but I'm going to go ahead and set up more. So here we have something called new request now, and we just want to do ISS location, and I'm just going to say ENG for English here, but you can call this whatever you want. You can call it Paul if you want. Doesn't really matter. Hopefully Paul, when you call it Paul, you can know it stands for ISS location. You might just want to call it ISS location. That's fine too. That's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to leave it in the get mode. There's get, post, and put, and all that stuff. I'm going to leave it in get because I just want to get data. And then I'm just going to paste. I'm going to paste that URL we copied. And normally I would go here, like in the NOAA one, I went to authentication, and I set up authentication, and I set up parameters and filters. This one takes none of that. It's just a simple call. You ask it for location data, it will give you location data back. And to prove how simple it is, I'm just going to save, and then I'm going to send. And there you go. That's how easy it is. You just paste the URL and you go. I probably took too much time explaining how easy it is, but it's really important to me that you understand how easy this is and how quickly you can get this up and running. All right. So here's the latitude and longitude. We have 19.71 and 162.25. Now, it's been 5 seconds since I called, so watch. I'm going to send again, and you can see now it's 18 and 161.02. So it changes quite quickly, and every time you call it, basically, if you don't flood this thing, and again, please don't, every time. If you wait like 30 seconds, you'll be good to go. 1 minute, you'll be good to go. So I'm going to send again, and you'll see that it changes even more, 17 and 160 now. And you also get the timestamp, which is again a Unix timestamp, and messages, which is success, which is good, means things went well. So Unix timestamp, or the timestamp that you get back here, it just looks like one big old timestamp. And you might try to decipher this and go, oh, maybe it's the year 1741, month 53, or really, you can try to decipher it anyway, but a quick Google search will just tell you that this is the number of seconds after the Unix, I think it's called the epoch time or something, and the Unix start time or epoch time is 1970 0101. So the year 1970, January 1st. That's all it means. And what is this timestamp? This is the number of seconds after that date. So all you have to do to get whatever date this timestamp is to add this many seconds to 1970 0101, and you'll be good to go. So we will be doing that in both Power BI and in SQL Server. So just know that that's coming up. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on downloading this data. Okay, so we have ISS location. Now we're going to try people in space. And again, we just go to the people in space documentation. We copy this URL. We go over here and add a request. I'm going to name this one people in space ENG for English, because I did it in Spanish yesterday. I'm going to paste the URL and hit send. And we're done. Should we just end the stream here? Because we're pretty much done. All right, people. It gives me a list of people. 12 in total, it should be. There are, and the interesting thing is it also gives you the craft. So we have folks that are aboard the ISS, and then we have folks that are available. I believe, I apologize to any of my Chinese friends. Qiangong, I think, is the craft. I think it went up in November, and it docked with the ISS, and there are 3 Chinese astronauts aboard that craft, but it's tied to the ISS, so they're technically aboard both at the same time. Or maybe they went off into their own craft already. I'm not really sure. I might need to email Nathan, the creator of this API, to see sort of how should I decipher that. So that's it. It gives you the craft, it gives you the name of the person, and then at the bottom here, you'll see number, which is the number of people in space is 12, and the message is success. So we're just going to go ahead and save that. This is, again, what I use to make sure that I know that it works before trying it out elsewhere. Postman is sort of my scout. There we go. We had to unfreeze a screen. But Postman is sort of my scout. It just, here's where I go to just make sure that it's not me and it's not the API. If the API says it works, and for some reason I can't get it to work with PowerShell or SQL Server or Power BI, whatever, I go to Postman because it's an independent third party. It doesn't rely on my connection. They have their own servers that they use to ping this stuff. So that's what I would suggest. If you're looking to troubleshoot or explore APIs, use Postman. It's really, really good. All right. So what's the next step? We're done with Postman. What's the next step? Well, first, I actually want to take a second and just go to LucidChart and draw up some diagrams based on these data sets. That way, our mental picture of the data can be a sort of physical or digital picture of it. Instead, I'm going to draw a quick ERD, or entity relationship diagram. So let's do that now. And you can see that I have a finished product here from yesterday, but we're just going to go ahead and do this one more time so that you can get familiar with how to and what I'm thinking at the time. And I'm just going to leave this one here, but I'm just going to make a new page at the bottom. LucidChart, by the way, is also a free, mostly free product. For this one, I do pay, but it's because I want some extended features that may not be available with the free option. I think the only feature they care about to make you pay is maybe the AI one, which I don't even use anyway. But the one I care about is that you can have more than 40 objects in one canvas. The objects add up really quickly. Like this text box is an object. This blue square is an object. Each one of these tables are an object. The arrows, I think, are one object as well. So things add up pretty quickly, and that's why I pay for it, so I can have a nicer version of it. But I absolutely love this app. It's really great. Okay, so let's go ahead and just recreate this. Now, I'm going to just do a blank canvas, and it's going to ask me if I want to do like a template, or usually it does. I guess this time it won't. Oh, here we go. Here's the templates. The one I would suggest is just an ERD. So I'm just going to search for ERD, and the one I like to use is this one with UML. And here we can see that it sort of gives you a preview. Now, I like this design, but those who follow my streams or my videos, you'll know that I actually like to do the ones with 2 cells or 2 columns. One for the name of the column or field, and one for the data type. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and just copy this one and bring it down here. And then all we have to do is change this shape from a single column to a dual column. And you'll see that there's one with like a smaller dual column. Why is there another ad break coming? Oh my God. These ad breaks are just the worst for Twitch. I guess they got to pay the bills. Okay. There's a smaller one, and this is for keys, like foreign keys and primary keys. That's not the one I want to use. I want to use the one that has the name of the column and the data type. So those are the ones that we'll be using. Okay, so let's do one for ISS location. And I'll just double click to rename it. And then the first column that I get back for location, let's do that. Switch over to the location, is the latitude, longitude, message, and timestamp. So I'll do message, timestamp, latitude, and I need one more field, so I'll just activate that, and longitude. Now the message, I just want to do like a standard varchar, I don't know, 50. Is that what I chose in the Spanish version yesterday? Let's see. 100. So we'll just do 100. I think my reasoning behind that was just in case like the error message is actually really, really long. I wanted to give it breathing room so that my process doesn't fail. The timestamp, that's going to be a big int because it's a whole number, but it's a very large whole number. So I want to make sure I use big int. If you're using like Oracle or any other data type that doesn't have, or sorry, any other database that doesn't have a big int, just use the largest integer you can have, like a 64-bit byte, 64-byte integer. All right, and then for latitude, I want to use a decimal, right? Because the data is coming back to me as a decimal. But I'm going to use something like 10.4. Did I use 10.4 yesterday, or did I use 18.4? 10.4. What does 10.4 mean? 10.4 means there are 10 digits total and 4 of them after the decimal. That's all it means. 10 digits total, 4 after the decimal. Okay, and just to sort of prove everything out, I can actually take this message that I got back and just double click here in LucidChart, change this to left align and black so that I don't have to keep going back and forth, right? That's an example of a message I got back, so you can just keep it over here if you want to. Okay, that's our first object. I'm going to go ahead and abide by this ad break, and I'm just going to take it and play some GeoGuessr. So if Twitch doesn't pick you for the ad, then you'll get to watch me play GeoGuessr, or if you're subscribed, you'll also be able to watch me play GeoGuessr. But I want to make sure no one misses anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave this as is. I'm going to switch over to GeoGuessr, and we will be playing for about 3 minutes, I think it is. So I will see you in 3 minutes. All right, so if you're watching, that means either Twitch didn't pick you, super, or you're subscribed, and thank you. All right, so let's play some GeoGuessr. Yesterday I had a pretty good run, so hopefully today that happens again. Let's do towers. I don't know what that is. Intact place. This is giving me Chicago vibes for some reason. But that skyway is like very Minnesota. But there's not a lot of skyways here. Oh, wait. Calgary Transit. Of course it's giving me Chicago vibes. That's Canada's sneaky way of tricking me into thinking this is the US, but it's really Calgary in Canada. Oh, Calgary. Or oh, Canada. You always trick me. Element Future says it's too clean for the US. Hey, Element Future, it's great to see you. And I agree. It does look too clean for the US. That's why I was like, maybe Minnesota, you know? Minnesota's cleaner. But yeah, good call. Too clean for the US. I'll take that one. As a person in the US, I can agree with that. All right, can we actually find like where this is? Intact Plaza. I'm glad the plaza's intact place. I'm glad it's intact because it would be very not great if it was not intact. There's the Peace Bridge. I don't know. Downtown. It's got to be downtown, right? Tell US Scott. Calgary Tower. That seems like it's... Oh, I think I saw Royal India, didn't I? Or no? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's this. We'll see. Nah, it's totally not that. But hey, 532 meters. We're good. Element Future says Calgary sounds fine. I think it does because I saw Calgary on the bus. So, beaches. This is my favorite one. I'm not great at it, but it's my favorite one. Transportamos arte. Ooh. Colombia. .co, I think is the domain here. This is Colombia. Let's see if we can get any flags to confirm this. Calle 8, Carretera 1. Yeah, this has to be Colombia. Servicio Público. I don't know what the taxis look like there. That's an interest. Oh, okay. I thought those hats were on top of the taxi. They're not. There's a person just selling hats. That's what it is. I was going to say that's a very interesting taxi. I want to say this is Colombia. Somewhere on the beach in Colombia. Barranquilla, maybe? I don't know. I don't know my Colombia, so I apologize to my Colombian friends here. Hopefully it's that. Okay, those are bathrooms. Those are bathrooms. I got nothing. I think I'm just wasting time here. Cartagena. Okay. That makes more sense. Very cool. Element Future says I've never been to either North or South America. I've never been to Europe, so we gotta like swap or something. We gotta do a swap. Okay, one more. Let's do one more with restaurants. New Yanyan Supermarket, Chinatown Noodle Restaurant. We're driving on the right though, or sorry, we're driving right. It's right-hand drive, so it's Australia, UK. There's no way it's Japan. This, nope. Okay, here we go. Authorized parking only. Wong's Fine Food. I'm gonna go with, it could be Australia, but I'm gonna go with the UK somewhere. Maybe just like somewhere around London. Let me see if I can find some other stuff here. Like the parking loading zone. I thought that said London for a second, but it just says loading zone. Illusion. Element Future says yellow number plates can be UK. Yeah, for sure. I think so. I'm just gonna go with London. Hopefully it's at least England and not like Ireland or Scotland. I'm pretty sure. We'll find out. God. Australia is like just as tricky as Canada. I want to say Australia and South Africa are both really tricky when it comes to that. I should have known it was the Aussies trying to trick me. All right. Aren't you glad you don't come here for the GeoGuessr? Or maybe you do come here for the GeoGuessr. If that's the case, I'm so sorry to disappoint. There's plenty other better GeoGuessr. Go to Rainbolt. You know, go to Rainbolt's channel. He's amazing. I go there. Element Future says it looked like some downtown road, but I guess the brickwork was too young. Yeah, that's very possible. It's very possible. Very possible. Element Future says continue with data analysis. Yes, that's a very nice way of saying like keep your day job, right? Definitely definitely a good idea. Okay, let's head back over here to my computer, and I think I got it. Okay, here we go. We have our first table or our first data set called ISS location. Again, it just gives us the current location over the planet Earth of the ISS, and that's accessible via the API that I just walked through here in Postman. I'm going to call it again just so you can see the 17 and 160 changes now to -30 and 122. So again, every 5 seconds this thing is updating. Please don't call it every 5 seconds or every 1 second or something. Be respectful. All right, and now we're going to go to the other one, which is the people in space. I'm going to send that again. And surprise, surprise, it doesn't change very much. The International Space Station is moving at 28,000 kilometers per hour. It says so on the site. Right here. 28,000 kilometers an hour. So you can expect that the number of people in space does not change very often. Maybe if it was like the number of objects in space or something like that, it would change a little bit more frequently. But you're okay to call this like once a day, once a week, once a month. You don't have to call this every 5 minutes, every hour. There's not a lot. There's not a lot going on as far as getting people in and out of space. So just know, you don't have to be as like, this one's not as critical to call all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and call it. Sent it, and now we get our data back. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm just going to pop it down here. And again, I'm going to align it to the left. I'm going to make it black so it's readable. And for some reason that didn't happen, so let's try that again. There we go. All right, so now we're just going to create our object for it. I'm just going to copy this ISS location, and something that bit me yesterday was I sort of left the data types there, and someone goes, hey, why is the person's name a decimal? And then I had to explain that what's the word I'm looking for? I am not smart. I know that's more than one word, but that's why. I call it copy pasta. So today, I'm just going to go ahead and erase everything, including the name. I'm just going to rewrite that to people in space. That's what I want to call my table. Okay? Or maybe astronauts in space, something like that. Technically, you might argue like, oh, well, some people go to space and they're not astronauts. I think as soon as you go into space, at least I consider you an astronaut, or at least braver than I am or ever will be. So, you know, there's that. All right. So people in space, we have message, which is the status, right? We have the timestamp. Do we have a timestamp here? No, we do not. No, we don't. So our timestamp is actually going to be a custom one. So we'll still leave it here. And I'll just put like an asterisk on it to show that it's a data point that we will collect on our side, that the data set doesn't actually have. And then craft and name. So now message, that's a pretty easy one, varchar 100. The timestamp, that's not going to be a big, that's just going to be a date time. And I want to say it's actually going to be a date time offset 7, if I remember. So I'll go ahead and do that. But if you're running Oracle or any other database platform that's not SQL Server, what you're going to do is you're going to find whichever data type can store a UTC time, universal time that's coordinated, universal coordinated time, or whatever it's GMT, UTC, whatever that is, because that's the timestamp we're actually going to be collecting in PowerShell, and that's the one you're going to need to store. So the correct data type to store that in SQL Server is datetime offset 7. All right, craft, that's going to be a varchar. What did I choose yesterday for it? 50. Hopefully there's no crafts that are longer than 50 characters. If they are, we can adjust. If you want to just put 100, you can do so as well. And the name, that I will put varchar 100. I have a very long name, so I can expect others will too. Let me make sure that I didn't mess anything up here. I have a timestamp, craft name, number. Okay, the number. The number, that's an interesting one. Like we can put the number, which is just an integer. Hopefully there's never a decimal amount of people in space, right? Like 15.2 people in space. There could be a couple ways that would happen, but we'll just count on even numbers of people in space. And hopefully the number never exceeds, well, maybe not hopefully, but the number should never exceed an integer, which is like some 100 million people in space. That's another thing. Element Future says even number sounds healthier. Yes, I agree. But at the same time, we could get to the point where we reproduce within space because we have a colony. This code probably won't be working at that point. So, you know, yeah, that's another way you could have a decimal. All right, so again, the number, it's a weird thing to be able to store this number, because if you look, this number, what it means is the count. It's the count of records you got back. And this is useful just to make sure that you know how many rows to anticipate. But the reality is, do we really need to store the number 12? When we can just count the number of rows we got back, right? Do we need to store that number? We don't need to. We can, but we don't need to. So I'll leave it there, but just know that this one isn't really imperative to get back. All right, so we're done, right? We're done with our map, but are we? If you look over here to the one we made yesterday, you'll see that I have 2 additional tables. And what are those tables? Well, they're craft information and astronaut information. Those are not available in this API, but they're called base tables or reference tables. Those would be tables with information that I would add to give more information about the craft or to give more information about the astronaut that's up there. And I would connect those using either the craft to the craft information table or the name to the astronaut information table if we wanted to know what country they're from or what country they're flying for. If we wanted to know information about the craft itself, we would also be able to have that. So although I put these here, just know that they would be tables that we have to create on our side. They're not tables that exist from this API. So what I'm going to do is actually just move this over a little bit here and move this over and just paste these tables. These would be tables that we create, right? They're base tables, reference tables, whatever you want to name them. So here I'm going to select craft and I'm just going to make a relationship over here. And then people in space, the name, I'm going to tie it over, oh, there we go, over here and move that along a little bit. So when you make this relationship, just know that let's give these like a different color, right? How do you do that? I forgot. I think it's over here. There we go. Shaded header. We can do like a red, like that, because these tables are DIY tables. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and add a rectangle just to make it look like the one from yesterday. Right click on that rectangle and send it to the back. Then adjust the sizing as needed. And then we're going to take the title that we had yesterday as well. So open notify ISS data ERD, double click here, adjust it to where it's on the top, and then also the link to the website. paste that, bring it down here, and then we can give this one a color too. What color? Yeah, just a light blue is fine. So there, we're good to go. We can delete these too. And I think you can always add like a key for this, but I don't remember how to do it. But you can add like a key that shows like, hey, here's these colors, this is what the color tables mean, and these other colors mean this, that sort of thing. But for now, we're okay here. All right, so we're done with our diagram. That was, I guess, step 1.5. Step 2 is going to be using, no. Step 2 was viewing the data in Postman. I don't know. One of the steps. The next step is using PowerShell to automate the calling of the API and the downloading of data. Now, just for clarity, I want to download these to a CSV, and then I also want to use PowerShell. Unfortunately, I won't be able to with this demo because I'm having problems with my DBA tools module, but I usually use PowerShell to download it to a CSV and then upload the data to SQL Server automatically, feed it into a SQL Server table. Why do I do that? Well, I've been questioned on why I do it, and that's why I want to explain. Some of you, some of my viewers, do not have a database platform to work with. And if you don't, I just want to take a second and push Azure SQL. No, it's up there. Azure SQL DB, which I have a video about on my YouTube of how to configure Azure SQL DB and get up and running in like 10 minutes. They give you 10 free databases that you can use. You don't need like an education account. You just go to Azure, sign up, or Azure's portal, sign up, and you can activate these databases. You get 10 free databases. Of course, they have some limits of like what you can do with them, how much data you can store them, that sort of thing. But this is free. This is something that's pretty much unheard of from Microsoft as far as Azure goes. Yes, they offer SQL Server Developer Edition and SQL Server Express, but you have to do all those installations on your own. And as a student just getting into data, if you are forced to install SQL Server, that is like the worst experience sometimes, because you get this like these random errors sometimes that you don't even know what they're about, and then you're stuck sort of submitting questions to Reddit or Stack Overflow, and all you wanted to do was just play around with SQL. So Azure SQL DB allows you to just get up and running in like 5 minutes, no installs, no downloads. You can even explore the databases right on your browser with their in-browser IDE. I don't really suggest it. SQL Server Management Studio works just fine. But the other option is, if you don't like Azure or Microsoft in general, there's also Live SQL. In this video, I'm going to have the scripts to insert them into both Live SQL and Azure SQL DB available for you so that you can play around with the data in either one of the platforms. Live SQL is from Oracle. It's the one that I've been sort of pushing for, man, I want to say like 3 or 4 years now, just because it's completely free. It was the only one that was available that was completely free and online, and you didn't have to install anything. And now that Azure SQL DB is up, then both of those are now available. But it's really, really cool, and I really like the concept of both of these tools. And again, I have videos on my YouTube channel of how to use both of them. All right. So what was I talking about again before I started? By the way, I'm not sponsored by Microsoft or Oracle or anything like that. I just want to make sure that you don't have to experience the pain of trying to install either Oracle or SQL Server and not knowing what to do when you get an error. So that's a DBA's job, by the way. I should make that very clear. When I was an analyst, I did not have to install SQL Server or Oracle. I only had to do that when I was progressing to be a lead analyst and a DBA, when I showed interest. That's a DBA's job. You can look anywhere on the internet and see that installing a database platform is a DBA's job, not an analyst job. And if you're getting paid an analyst position and they have you installing SQL servers, this is your sign to go look for a DBA job. All right. So we we have our diagram. Let's go to PowerShell and let's see if we can get the CSVs created and all that good stuff. All right, so what I'm gonna do is actually open up PowerShell here on the left side, but on the right side I'm gonna open up Notepad++, which is somewhere around here, because I just want to follow along with the scripts I had from yesterday. So let's start with location. I'm just going to make a copy of it, and then I'm going to open that copy with Notepad++. And of course it doesn't let, oh, here we go, edit with Notepad++. There we go. All right, so now we should see them side by side. And again, I just want to make sure that I'm giving you the best quality scripts I can. So that's why I have it here on the right. Yesterday, I was sort of like wandering around trying to get this done. And I just don't want to waste your time. Even though we're 55 minutes in and all we've done is just play around with Postman and GeoGuessr. But hey, if you're still here, remember, or if you're still here and on YouTube, just remember, we have chapters along the bottom. If you're still here and on Twitch, thank you for being here, and I'm sorry I'm taking so long. All right, so first we're going to go ahead and copy these quotes, these comments here. I like to leave comments in all of my scripts. That way you know who to yell at. All right, the first thing we're going to do is clear all these variables. So why were we clearing the variables? Well, it's because if you are using PowerShell and you use multiple windows, first, you know, this is PowerShell ISE. So technically speaking, the variables can transfer from windows to windows. So like from tab to tab. And that's really, really frustrating because you'll be looking at a variable, go, why is this value? Turns out you have a script open in another tab, and that's where the variable is stored. So the first thing I like to do is clear all the variables and make sure that I'm starting fresh every single time I run. So we're going to go ahead and publish that, or write this out. So clear variable URI. We're going to clear variable response. And then I'm just going to copy and paste. Clear variable custom response. Do one more time. And clear variable ISS location live file path. This time it's ISS location historical file path and collection date time. Now, once we've cleared these, now we need to initiate them. So the first time you run this, it'll actually go, hey, these don't exist, I can't clear them. In fact, we can run this right now and we'll see that that's the case. It basically gives you an error saying these variables don't exist, I'm not going to clear them. So I'll clear that, and we're going to go ahead and create our first variable. So here, let me copy this comment at least, and now we'll create our first variable. The first variable is going to be our collection date time. Now, what is this going to do? It's basically just going to grab a timestamp of right now and use that for the rest of the script while it runs. So if right now it's 12:26 p.m. Eastern US time, it's going to grab that with the seconds and everything, and it's going to store it in a variable. And that value is what I'm going to push to the rest of the data. Why? Because technically speaking, if the process takes long enough, I could get different timestamps along the way if I just push it, if I just grab the time every time I'm doing something. The only other time that you'd want to do that sort of on purpose is to show how long things take in your script. So we could have like a start script timestamp and an end script timestamp, and basically the time between those is how long the script took. So I do that in stored procedures for SQL Server and Oracle all the time, but just know that that's one of the reasons you would want to do that. All right, so we're going to create a variable. We're going to call it collection date time. And we're going to set it to get dash date. And as you can see, it is date time UTC now. So it grabs the UTC timestamp. And then dash format O, I want to say. Is it O or 0? I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. I don't remember why, but I think it's it just shows you or it stores it in a particular manner when you do format -o. And let's see what it looks like, just for curiosity's sake. Let's see what it looks like here. All right, there we can see it right here. 2025-0309. It is 16:28 with 23 seconds UTC time right now. So great. I'm gonna go ahead and clear this down here. And if you're wondering why your PowerShell window might look a little bit different than mine, maybe you have just this blue area. If you have just this blue area, it probably means you're just running standard PowerShell. If you want to get where I am, you just search for PowerShell ISE. If you search for PowerShell ISE, this version will open up. It's like in a development environment instead. And then you just click File and New Window, and you'll be able to see this sort of editor here instead of just a blue screen. So yeah. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to create a request to run the API. Now, most of you are very aware that to call an API from PowerShell, you just hit it with an invoke REST method. Invoke REST method. And when you do that, you have to pass in what API URL do you want to call? What headers do you want to pass in? And so this right here builds those values right here. So let's go ahead and build those values. We're going to create a request to open notify API. And I like to leave comments here so you know where you are, you know what's going on, that sort of thing. If I just did scripting, then it would be very difficult for someone who's trying to get to know the code itself, to know where they're at, to know what's going on in the next few lines. And I do this in SQL Server, I do this in Oracle, I do this in PowerShell, I even do it in Power BI just to give maximum communication. And then here we want to do define the API endpoint and headers. All right, so now we want to create a variable called URI, and we want to set that to be equal to whatever our URL address was. So we'll grab it right here. The one we want is actually the location. So we'll copy that. And that's the URI. There we go. And then the next variable is the headers. That's sort of telling the system what you want in and out of it. Here's where I would put any authentication. In fact, if you watch my NOAA video, I'm going to put it up there if you're watching on YouTube. If you watch my video on getting NOAA data from the NOAA API, you'll see that we actually put our authentication in there, or like our token in there. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy this right here so I don't make a mistake, because I usually do. And basically we're just telling it the content type that we want, or that we have, is JSON, and what we're accepting is JSON as well. And now the next step is to make the API call and retrieve the data. Now you may be thinking, well, the API call's right here. Well, no, those are just the values that we want to use when we're making the API call. And as you can see, the API call would just be invoke dash REST method dash URI is the URI. The method is get, and the headers are the headers value, the headers variable. Now you may see that this one looks a little bit different than the other one does. That's because there's a variable here called response, and what we're doing is setting this variable called response to be equal to whatever we get back from that API call. So I'll go ahead and do that. $response equals whatever we get back. Basically, that's what's going on here. So when we run this, nothing's really going to happen because we're not printing the variable. To print the variable, or to print the response, you would just say $response. And now when we run this, it's running. And what did I do wrong? Nope, it's still just running. So let's see what happens. Did I get something wrong? I don't think I did. Oh no, it's just my connection to the computer that's messed up. There we go. Okay, so now you can see that we got data back. We got the ISS position, which is the latitude and longitude. We got the message, and then we got a timestamp. So now what we can do is we can sort of understand that this ISS position is actually a container of more values. The ISS position is. It's a node within, where these are nodes, fields within its subnode. So when you look at the response itself, you'll see sort of these fields are here indented. This ISS position is a list or an array of values, and the two values that it has inside of it are latitude and longitude. These latitude and longitude are not at the same level as message and timestamp. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pull those and get them sort of at the same level, sort of push them back. And that's what we're going to do now. Hey, Bob Ross is on. If you follow Bob Ross is on Twitch. All right, let's see. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, just to get sort of familiar and print those out, as you can see, I have a couple commented values here. I'm going to print response, but then I'm also going to print response dot, and you can see when I hit dot, the subnodes come on, or the fields come on. I'm going to do ISS position, and I'm also going to do response dot message and response dot timestamp. So what does that look like when I run it? Why does that take so long? It's kind of weird. I don't think it takes so long in this one. Hopefully nobody's flooding it. If you're out there, stop flooding it. If you're out there and flooding this API, please don't. Maybe it's just me. All right, so we can see that I did the entire response, and then I also did success, which is the message, and I did I got the timestamp back. But if you notice, something looks weird about the ISS position. It's because I probably used the wrong field name, didn't I? No, it's actually because when I hit the dot again, I can actually do latitude, and I can do longitude. And let's see what that looks like instead. Now you can see, here's the entire thing. Here's the latitude, here's the longitude, here's success, and the timestamp. So you can interact with those values individually. Now, again, I need to sort of squeeze them all together. So how do I do that? I create a variable that I'm going to call custom response. So that's just a sub-object. It's an object that I'm going to create manually that sort of compresses things into the same level. So let's get started on that object here. I'm going to create an object or a variable called custom response. And I'm going to say it's equal to response, but using the vertical bar, I'm going to impose the select object function. And basically that allows me to sort of pick and choose which values I want in this object. The first one is going to be, you know what, we're just going to copy this because otherwise I'm probably going to make a mistake here. And I'll just talk through it as I copy it. So as you can see, each one of the fields is being called individually. $_ just means the first level dot message, first level dot timestamp. But if you look, this first level here for latitude is actually first level and then dot ISS position dot latitude because it's at a sub level. Same thing for ISS position dot longitude. And then the very last field is actually going to be the collection date time that we got all the way up here. So it's going to collect the message, the timestamp, the latitude, longitude, and the current timestamp that we got up there. And then we should be able to display that value. And then let's copy these comments here too. I want to make sure I copy them. Okay. Now we can display it, and we're going to impose the format table modifier so that our data comes back looking like a table. So let's see what that all looks like. I'm going to go ahead and comment these out right here because I really don't need to print them anymore. This is just to validate. there and there. So I'm going to write something like only uncomment when debugging. Now here, this is the one I want. So right here, I want to separate it a little bit, separate this a little bit too. There we go. All right, so now let's see what it all looks like. Now you can see that it looks like a table. And when we export to a CSV, this is exactly the data set that we're going to get in the CSV. So that's going to be good. All right, so moving on. Speaking of CSVs, we're going to go ahead and write the data out to a CSV. Now, what you'll notice here as I go along is that I'm actually going to write it out to 2 different CSVs. Each data set, we're going to write out to 2 CSVs. One called live and one called historical. The live one is just going to have the latest position, the latest data from our latest call. The historical one is going to have all the positions that we've ever gotten when we've called it. Why do I do that? Well, because technically speaking, you might want to show the difference between the live and the historical one. And I absolutely know that in both SQL Server and Power BI and Oracle, you can just get the live one by looking at the latest timestamp and just, filtering the data by the latest timestamp. That's all well and good. But once this gets up to the level where it's like thousands or millions of records, that's when you're going to want to have sort of just a live file. The live file is completely optional. You do not have to do it, but it makes my job easier. And I first started doing this two file approach or 2 table approach when I was working with call center data, where every 5 seconds or every 10 seconds, things needed to be updated. And Power BI struggled quite a bit when I was trying to force it to get the latest data, and even SQL Server, to get the latest data from a table that had millions of records in it. So what I decided to do was just create a live data set, live table, and a historical data set. That way, the live data set was always really, really quick to load because it was very small. And the historical data set was always available to see historical data and to see trends and things like that. So if you run into a situation where it's very slow to load because you're using historical data to get live results, just know that one of the ways that you can solve that is just to create 2 different data sets with the same data. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, how do I even manage that? Well, let's take a look at how I create these 2 CSVs. The first thing I'm going to do is create file paths for both of them. And the first file path is going to be ISS location live file path, which is the same one that we cleared up here. ISS location live file path. I'm going to set that to be equal to something way simpler than what you see on the right. Here it's just going to be C ISS tracker. And let me make sure that this actually exists, right? That's what I want to make sure. I don't want to try to make it record to a directory that doesn't exist. So I'm going to go to C, and here it is, ISS tracking info. ISS tracking info. So that's what we're going to tell it to record to, ISS tracking info. And then we will name this file, I don't know, whatever this one's name is. ISS tracking stations live. There we go. And that's it. That's one file name. Then we have a historical one. That one's going to be called ISS location historical file path. And that will be equal to same exact directory and same exact file name, really, but it'll just be called historical instead of live. And there we go. So those 2 variables are not doing anything except just storing the name of the desired file. Where we actually will write to those files is using the export-csv module or function, which is called by saying custom response, which is that that shiny response that we have down here, the nice looking one. Then we'll add a modifier to it using the vertical bar, and we'll say, hey, we want to export this to a CSV. The path that we want to export to, dash path, is the live file path. So ISS location, live file path. We do not want any type information. So we'll say no type information. That just means like no data set or data type information is going to be stored with the file. We just want the data itself. We also want the delimiter to be a vertical tab or vertical bar. Now you may be asking yourself, we want to push it to a CSV, but we're using a vertical bar. Why? It's because sometimes, or a lot of the time, I get commas in my values, and I just want to make sure I use a delimiter that's not the comma, because it's way less common to see vertical bars in your data than it is to see comma. City, comma, state, province, comma, country, that sort of thing is far more common than ever seeing a vertical bar. And I don't want to confuse any systems to think that like instead of city, comma, state being one value, it's actually a new column. So that's my easiest way of doing that. Okay, and I think there's one more modifier here called encoding. And I want to make sure I use UTF-8 encoding. Encoding, that's if I spelled encoding right, that would be good. UTF-8. All right, so that will do our live file. Let's go ahead and run it and see if it works out. All right. So it gave us our data back, but did it actually create a file for us? Well, let's find out. And there we go, ISS tracking stations live.csv. Now, let's go ahead and edit that, and we'll see, hey, here's the data back in a CSV file. That's fantastic. I want to keep calling it and storing it, right? All right, so I'm going to call it one more time. And here's -2.22, 19.17. But what happens? Now it changed. We got new values, but where'd our old values go? Now we have no way of knowing where it was before because we just overwrote this file. So again, that's why I create the historical version. When I create the historical version, what we'll see is that we keep adding to the bottom of the file instead of just overwriting our data. So let's go ahead. Let me just add some comments here, because these are pretty important. And this one right here, the encoding comment is really important too. You all need to know that. All right, now we're gonna write the results to a historical file. And now as you can see here, one of my notes is, hey, use -append if you are looping through pages. Well, that not only exists when you're looping through pages, but it also exists, or that's also suggested when you don't want to delete data. So I'm going to say, or you want to build a history file. And how do we do this? And again, it's just going to be copying this one. So let's just copy this line. And instead of the live file path, it's going to be the historical file path, like this. And one more modifier at the end. I'm going to say -append. -append just means if the file doesn't exist, create it. If the file does exist, add to the bottom. That's all append means. So let's take a look. Let's go ahead and create this. There we go. We've created the files. One of them already existed. The other one was just created. But as you can see, this live file, it's not here. This live file here, when I edit it, I can see it's only one value. And historical, how many values is it going to have? Well, just one. Why? Because we just started talking, or we just started calling it, right? So let's call it one more time. And we can see the file for live still has one record, but the file for historical now has two. We've waited 5 seconds while I've babbled on about that. So let's call it one more time. And we can see when I reload in Notepad++, now we have 3. And again, Load it. Now we have 4. I think that's 5 seconds already. Load it again. And now we have 5. So this means that we get to track the history of the coordinates as well. We don't have to just try to scope out where it was. Now we have a full history, and this will never be deleted unless you delete it by mistake. And if so, sorry. As long as, I mean, these are really small files. So as long as your like hard drive doesn't fill up, you're good to go, right? You're okay. Now, that's it. That's how you go ahead and create these files. I'm going to go ahead and go over here and create these PS1 files. I'll call it ISS tracking, location, ENG for English. Let's go ahead and do it really quick for the astronauts as well. The astronauts is a little bit sneaky. So we're going to go ahead and do that here as well. Let's go ahead and pop open the astronauts PS1. I'm going to make a copy of it so that I can open it in Notepad++. And there we are. Now we have that copy. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new file. Copy the comments from it. 3.8 is 3.9 because that was yesterday. I'm going to copy all the clear variables from it. I'll do the same exact thing. Just know that the only thing that's really different about this data is this call right here. Instead of issnow.json, now it's astros.json. Why? Because that's what they have here. Astros.json is what gets you this data. This is the endpoint that we want to call now. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just make the response, all that good stuff. Now, what I do want to do is call attention. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this response. And you can see that the people is different now. It just has like a horizontal list of things. So what do we do? What do we do now? Well, our custom response is just going to be a little bit different. Our custom response is we're going to grab the people here. We're going to grab the people or the list of people and just select the craft, the name, and also the data collection date as an object. We don't need to use the same customizable stuff. In fact, I tried to use it yesterday, but the reality is it's not really necessary. You can just grab the craft, the name, and the data collection date variable that we already have. Now, it's up to you if you want to just do this custom response. I went down that avenue yesterday and I just realized it wasn't really worth it for me because I didn't need the number of people. I didn't really need the number of people. So if you want to, you can, but it's not something I really recommend. If you want to explore PowerShell a little bit more, I just got frustrated and just said, all I care about is the people, so I'm just going to grab that. And now we can display this custom object, which is right here. And I want to make sure I grab the notes. Perfect. Okay, so let's see if we can show the data. So we're going to just call $custom response. And let's see what it all looks like. And there we go. Now, what we have is the craft. We have the name of the astronaut, and we have a data collection date. Notice that the data collection date is exactly the same for every single value. Every single value has the same exact data collection date because we collected it one time, and we're just reusing it for every row. You can imagine that if we went to get this data, this value on the fly, if we had like, let's say 10,000 people in space, or we had pages that we had to sift through, you can bet that you'd have different timestamps. And what I want to do is, because this is historical data, I want to use this timestamp to know exactly what point of time or point in time we were looking at with this data. So that's why I have the entire data set has the same timestamp. All right. So here, we're just going to write the data to the files again. It's going to be exactly the same as before. Instead of ISS location, it's just going to be astronauts live, astronauts historical, and I'm just going to change this location to be C my simple CISS tracking info folder instead of like my OneDrive and all that stuff. There we go. Here, and then also delete this down here. And now we are good to go. Actually, that's one extra slash. So let's see if this works now. I'm gonna hit play, and now we can see that we have, is this the one? Yeah, this is the one. Astronauts Live, Astronauts Historical. They were just created about 10 seconds ago. So when I go to Astronauts Live and open that, here's the full list. It has the craft, it has the name of the astronaut, and a timestamp. Astronauts Historical, same thing, right? Craft, name, timestamp. And again, what I want to do is make sure that the second one uses the append modifier. So when I click play on this again, this historical is now going to have two timestamps. One at 1653, one at 1654. So we're going to wait one more minute while I talk, and then we're going to run this one more time just to build a nice little history file here. So where's 1255? Come on, 1255. I'm watching you. $12.54. Let me take a sip of water here while this happens. There we go, 12:55. Let's go ahead and run this again. And now we can see 16:55 UTC. All right, so we have a good history file. And again, this is just now 12:55 only. This live file is only 12:55 only because of the fact that it replaces itself every time. So, ooh, looks like I left an extra slash here and it ignored it. That's good. I'm gonna go ahead and save this one as, oh, that's weird. Oh, okay, yeah. ISS astronauts _ENG PS1. Now, I have a secret. And that secret is, since about 9 a.m. this morning, so about 4 hours ago, I have been running this in the background every 1 minute. So I am hoping that I have a good history built up of the ISS location, the location. But first, what I want to do is show you the next step. Normally, I would use here in PowerShell, I would use DBA tools to load those CSVs or just load from the PowerShell object straight into SQL Server on its own. And I'm trying to get that working again. I used to have it working a while ago, but I've been getting some weird SQL errors when I'm trying to do that. So I'm just going to maybe redo the structure of how I have that set up. But usually DBA tools is really, really easy to set up and it gives you no problems. But I probably made a couple modifiers to it that have gotten it sort of not running fantastically. So really quick, let's just go through the motions of importing this data into SQL Server. And then we can take a look at my big history file, import that into SQL Server as well, and then work with Power BI. So let's move on to the next step, which is importing into SQL Server. There's many ways you can do it. In fact, I have a video on the many ways you can do it. One with PowerShell, one with SSIS, I think, and one with just the import and export wizard in SQL Server Management Studio. That video is right up there if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube and you're just on my Twitch, just go to my YouTube channel. You'll see it up there as well. Man, my screen keeps freezing, the one with the teleprompter. Let me go ahead and restart it again. Okay, there we go. That's better. Okay, so let's go ahead and start importing it in SQL Server. I'm going to open up SQL Server Management Studio, and I'm just going to log into one of my many servers. If you do not have a database that you can work with, I am going to have the scripts in the description of this YouTube video, the YouTube video itself. I'm going to have the scripts that you can use for either Live SQL or Azure SQL DB. And again, they are free. Both of them are free. There's the links up there in the chat where you can just go and activate them. There is no reason you shouldn't be able to start querying with these two solutions, and I want you to be able to get the practice in if you need to, or if you want to, if you just want to explore and see if it's for you. Okay, so right here, I'm going to go to my registered servers, or sorry, my Object Explorer. I'm going to go ahead and just create a new database. Even though we have an ISS tracker database already, I'm going to right click and just go through the motions. Right click a new database. I'm going to call this ISS tracker ENG for English. And I'm just going to adjust a couple settings here. The file path, I'm just going to leave it in the C drive. I would not suggest you store databases in the C drive. If you have an external drive or something like that, I would definitely recommend you do it there. I'm going to make the owner of this database SA, because SA cannot get fired. SA can't be laid off. SA can't go on vacation and quit and get hit by the lottery, as Brent Ozar says. So SA is my preferred database owner. Now for the collation of the database, I'm going to choose SQL, Latin, General, CI, AI, case insensitive, accent insensitive. Why? Because we're dealing with astronaut data here. There are astronauts worldwide, and I want it to be able to store and also not care about accents or diaresis or okinas, anything like that. I want to be able to search for the letter O and any variation of the O, any variation of the A, any variation of the E, etc. I want to be able to use it or find that value. So that's why I use CIAI, case insensitive, accent insensitive. All right, our recovery model is going to be simple because I do not care about transaction log backups. I'm okay with just doing a full backup every night or whenever it is that you feel like doing it. And then other than that, I'm just going to sort of leave these options alone and hit OK. And now we have our database. And now we also have Twitch telling us we need to do ads. So I'm going to go ahead and run a quick ad. I'm going to leave this alone so that everyone can follow along as you need to. If you're subscribed, you'll be able to see me play GeoGuessr. If you are not subscribed, there's a possibility that Twitch won't pick you for ads. If so, fantastic. But otherwise, I will see you in about 3 minutes. All right. Let's see if we can get GeoGuessr to load. There we are. Let's go. Bridges? I think bridges. Bridges is a good one. I don't know. This is like sort of Florida vibes. Some weird reason. Oh no, mountains. No. This is definitely not Florida. What? Now I'm sort of I don't know. I don't know. It looks hot. Maybe this is somewhere in the northeast or northwest, California, perhaps. I don't think California has mountains this close to the shore. It's almost looking like Oahu. Or even Maui. There's a city right next to the coastline. Oh my god. It is Oahu, or it's one of the islands. It's one of the Hawaiian islands. Okay. I'm gonna try to be very, very, God, I don't know. Okay, how can we understand which island it is? This has to be Oahu. There's too much city not to be Oahu. There's like too many skyscrapers and stuff. So we're gonna go to Honolulu Harbor. Somewhere, one of these bridges. Maybe here? No. It has to be closer to the harbor. Somewhere here. I don't know where. Oh, this bridge. This bridge, maybe. Is there like there? It is a terminal. It is a terminal. Sand Island Parkway. It's got to be this bridge, or maybe it like somewhere close to this. I'm gonna go with this one. Yes, 13 meters. Fantastic, man. That was a weird one. But I'm really happy I got it because I've been to that exact location. Okay, beaches. Dutch. God, I don't know. Is this? I don't know. I don't know what language I'm looking at. For some reason, I'm thinking Dutch, but is this the Netherlands? I wanna sort of say it is. I don't know. I don't know why my like gut is going with it, but I'm gonna go ahead and go with that gut. Like the Zandvoort area. I would love for this to be like this area here, if it is even, and if not, and I apologize to Element Future, and to anyone else from this area that I may be offending right now, but I don't know why. Oh man, it's Denmark. I'm so sorry. I'm very ignorant. All right, let's go restaurants. I think we're back from ads, so we'll do one more. Okay. I mean, I'm getting Japan vibes, if I'm honest. Also looks like they're driving slightly on the left. And I see the windshield wipers pointing to the left side of the car, which means this has got to be Japan. It might be Australia again, because Australia might be trying to trick me, but I'm going to go with Japan. What island in Japan? No idea. No idea, if I'm honest. It looks very like... It looks chiller than like something like Tokyo would be. So maybe more like Osaka area. I don't know. I'm talking like I know anything. Oh, Kyoto. Okay. Not far. 40 kilometers. I'll take that. Okay. I think we're done here. Let's go back to what you actually came here for, which is data stuff. All right, so again, we're in SQL Server Management Studio. We just created our database. We're going to go ahead and import the ISS location and the astronauts in space file. So let's pop open this database, and what we're going to do is right click on it. We'll click tasks, and we're going to say import. No, that's export. We want import data. They're probably the same wizard. Pretty sure. Okay. Yeah, they're the same wizard. If I go to next, I'm going to choose my data source being flat files because they are CSV files. So we're going to click here and just say flat file source. The files we want to import are in the C drive, C ISS tracking info, and I see nothing, but that's because I just have to change this from text to CSV, and there they are. They just got uploaded today at 12:55 and at 12:48. The only ones I'm going to go ahead and import are the historical versions because I want to talk about those a little bit. We really don't need the live ones to be imported for this exercise. Just know that they're available if you want only the live data at a time. So whenever you refresh and you just want to see the live location, that would be the live file. All right, so we're going to start with the ISS tracking stations. It's just a station. I guess it was just station instead of with the S, but whatever. We'll go with that. Okay, so right off the bat, UTF-8, that's what we're matching because that's what we requested from PowerShell. What we're going to do is push the text qualifier to be quote. Why am I doing that? Well, because if we look, this right here is using quotes to indicate the entire value. So even if there were like a comma here, it would still not read it as a new column. It would read it as only a comma inside the value, and the text qualifier is the quote to do that. So we're going to choose text qualifier. We are going to leave this alone. Column names are in the first data row. Vertical bar has been automatically chosen as our delimiter, which is great. It automatically detected it, and you can see a preview of our data here. That's good as well. We're going to go to advanced, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to highlight all the columns. So message all the way down, holding down the shift key to data collection timestamp, and we'll just increase the size to 500 and leave everything as a string. So now you can see that all of them are string 500s. Why? Because this is a staging table that we're creating. We just want to get the data in the server. That's it. We don't really care about it being perfect. We'll do all sorts of validation once we have it in the server itself. And I'll show you how to do that. But right now, my priority is just to get the data in the server. So I'm going to click next. My destination is going to be SQL Server Native Client 11. That's the provider we're going to use. And then I want to log into my server. And the database is going to be ISS Tracker ENG for English. I'm going to click next. And now here, I want to make sure that I prefix this with staging underscore. Staging underscore. I'm going to click next, next, and finish. And we got our 5 rows transferred. Hit close, and we can see, where is it? Oh, these are the astronauts. I'm going to go ahead and go into tables. Right click and select top 1000. And we can see there's our live data, or there's our historical data. We can see data collection timestamp, the actual timestamp in Unix time, the latitude and the longitude right here. So all that is good to go. Now, what we want to do is put it in the real table. Now, these are all text values, so I want to make sure I use the right data types for the real table, right? That will validate the data as it's being inserted. You can take a second and just validate the data now with like some stored procedure or anything like that, but I find that the easiest way to validate whether or not the data is the correct data type is just to try to insert it into the actual table. And if it rejects the record, that means it's a bad one. So let's see if we can sort of get a script going for the new table. Well, luckily, we created this diagram for it. So this location table, if I just copy it, I can paste it into SQL Server, and you can see it's basically a create statement. So I'm going to say create table dbo.iss location. There's the first column, there's the second column, third, and fourth. Oops, I did that wrong. Third and fourth. So I'm just going to wrap these in brackets. And if you're in Oracle, you can wrap them in like quotes, which I will do once I provide the Oracle scripts. And then I'm just going to have commas here. Like that. And now we have our create script. I just have to add parentheses here, right? Parentheses and parentheses. And there is our create script for our table. It has a message, timestamp, latitude, and longitude, which is message, timestamp, latitude, and longitude. Oh, but hold on. We have a data collection timestamp as well. So we're just going to go ahead and add that one. And we'll make that a datetime. What is this? Datetime, no, datetime offset. This is the datetime offset that we were talking about earlier. Now, why doesn't my plan have this? Oh, it's the people in space one that I got it from. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it here as well. Date timestamp, and here, datetime offset. So there we go. Now we have it in our plan, and we are okay. There we go. All right, so going back here, we now have all of our columns. We're going to go ahead and create this table. Oh, wait. Before we do that, I actually want to create one more column. And that's an ID, an identifier. So ID, that's a big int of 1, 1. This is actually ISS location history, right? Because this is going to be the historical table, or historical, like that. That's not how you spell historical. There we go. I want an ID big int identity 1, 1. So this is basically just an auto incrementing number that'll just keep increasing by 1 for every record inserted. And I'm actually going to make that my primary key as well. All right, so let's go ahead and create this table. It's created. We're good to go. Now, what is our next step? Our next step is to insert the values into this table. So how do I do that? Pretty simple. I just build an insert into this table here. I'm going to explicitly tell it which columns I want to insert data into. So message is our first one. Timestamp is our second one. Latitude, longitude, and data collection timestamp. Now, how do I select the data that I want to insert into? Well, I just grab this select statement. It's right here. May as well use it. And you'll notice something. You'll notice that I didn't say I want to insert data into the ID column. That's because SQL Server is going to automatically do so. I don't have to insert data into here. SQL Server will take care of that new identity column. So I'm going to remove this top here and just make sure this works. And I want to make sure that the message, timestamp, latitude, longitude, and data collection timestamp all line up in the order. The ordinal value of your insert statements and your select statements that you're using matter. So you need to make sure that they're in the same exact order when you're calling an insert statement. I'm going to go ahead and insert 5 rows affected. We are good to go. Now, not only did we transfer the data to the real table, it means we can also wipe the staging table and be fine. And it also means that all of the data is now in the correct data type when we go to Power BI or any reporting platform, because we had these data types here. All right, so let's repeat the process for the astronaut data. I'm gonna go ahead and right click, task, and I'll run through this a little bit faster for you, so it's not so you're not stuck here waiting for me to finish this. Let's see, file source. We're gonna go ISS tracking info and grab the astronaut's historical. We'll open text qualifiers quote. Columns are good to go. We'll do advanced. Everything's a 500 and a string. Go to preview. Next, we'll put it in the correct table or the correct native client. Yep, that one. Log in. I don't know if I got that right. Oh, I guess I did. Okay, cool. Next. And then add a staging prefix. Next. And the data's there. Fantastic. Right here. We're going to go ahead and astronauts. We're going to open that up. And a special trick is we're going to open it in a new vertical tab window so that we can see our other query here on the left. Control-Shift-R to get rid of those squiggly lines there. I'm going to go grab the create script from people in space. Push it over here. Create table. No, it has to be dbo.that. And let's see. Okay, shouldn't have done that. There we go. Message, timestamp, craft, and name. Okay, let's make sure that we have our brackets around them so that SQL Server doesn't get confused. And it already did. It tried to capitalize our entire name column, which is fine. It's just annoying. There. Put some commas here. Nope, that's an M. And open parentheses, close parentheses. And now we have our historical table for people in space. I need the data collection timestamp, so I'll just add that right here and create the table. Now we're going to insert into our dbo.people in space historical. Make sure we get all the columns correctly. Message, what else? Timestamp. It capitalized it, didn't it? Craft. I'm going to go ahead and drop the table and do it again. Drop table. Like that. That's my favorite command, is drop table. Timestamp. There we go. Create it again. Control-Shift-R. And now our timestamp column is in lowercase. Great. What else? Name, number, and data collection timestamp. All right. Insert into, and then the values we're going to insert are that. Oh, I forgot to create the ID column, didn't I? ID, big int, identity, 11, primary key. Like that. Oh, I gotta drop it. Drop table. Phantom Cup dice buenas tardes Phantom Cup, espero que estés muy bien. Estamos haciendo el directo en inglés hoy. Ayer fue de español con este mismo tema. So, si quieres ver la versión de español, están en los bots. Va a estar en YouTube en algún momento esta semana también, pero hoy lo estoy haciendo en inglés. Muy buenas tardes, muchas gracias por estar aquí. Espero que estés muy bien. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create the table again. Now it has the ID column, the primary key, the big int. Si tienes alguna pregunta, by the way, Phantom, adelante también. We're going to insert into that new table, but as you can see, there are way less columns here than the ones that we have up here. So what we have to do is make sure that the message is basically success, but we don't really have to push the message in. We can just leave it as null. When we upgrade to get the message coming in too, sure, but right now we don't really have to do that. The timestamp, there is no timestamp, so I actually should have left that out. I'm gonna go ahead and delete this and delete this, and now I'll drop the table again and recreate it without the timestamp, like this. So I have the message, the craft, the name, the number. Number is gonna be blank as well, right? So I'm just gonna say, don't insert anything into message. Now I have the craft, the name, same thing. Don't insert anything into the number. So now I have all the columns that I want. The craft, the name, and the data collection timestamp or data collection date here. So let's go ahead and try to insert it. I think this one gives you an error. So we'll see what happens. Oh, nope, it was good. I wonder why that other one gave us an error. I think it was because of the wrong data type yesterday or something like that, but it looks like I went ahead and fixed that. So let's go ahead and see if we can see our data. Select star from people in space historical. And there we go. We can see that. Now, again, like I said, this one's okay to do, but I have a secret file in another computer that I've been using to collect data since about 9 a.m. or about 4.5 hours ago. So let me see if I can go find it really quick. I'll sort of leave you here. I'm going to see if I can find that file really quick. And how did I do it? Well, I just set up a Windows scheduled task to run the PS1 file that we generated. And it's been running it automatically. Ooh, wow, this file is big. This file is big. Okay, I'm going to make a copy of it. Now, how do I get it from one to the other? Ooh, you know what? I'm going to put it in my Google Drive. And then I'm going to pull it up in my other Google Drive. And hopefully that should work. Let's see, drive.google.com. I'll go to it. Datasets. And this will be available for you as well. This big old file, you'll get to have it too. All right, so we are pulling ISS tracking, and there's our file. Great. Now we're going to download it, and then I'll switch the camera so you can see the big old file we have. All right. Let me open up, make sure it is working, because the last thing I would want would be to show you a file that doesn't even work. And, oh yeah, wow. That's a lot of data. All right, let's see it. There's the file. We have all these locations now. How many times have we run this? We have run it automatically 238 files, or 238 times, and we just keep adding into it. So let's get this into SQL Server now, right? Let's go ahead and get this in. All right, so how do we get this in? We're just gonna go ahead and import it just like we always do. Let me go ahead and just, let's go ahead and just run this standard import wizard. Tasks, import data. And we are going to choose a flat file source. We're going to choose the file that's in my downloads. There it is right here. Now, change the text qualifier. Go to advanced columns. They're all 500. Hit next. We want to push it into a table. Next. Oh, okay. I have to log in correctly. Hit next. And now you can see that the file is way bigger. And we are going to load it into another staging table. Technically, I could load it into the same one as long as I truncate it and store it. But I'm just going to, for the sake of speediness, I'm going to go ahead and just publish it to a new table, and that's fine. 237 rows, as you can see. And now we have that data. Right click right here in this copy. But again, we want to put it into the space station historical table, the real one. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to copy this script right here, and I'm going to insert those values into ISS location historical. Let's make sure I can do that. I'm going to copy this script that I already built for my insert statement. And then this is the table I want to insert. Message, timestamp, latitude, longitude, and data collection timestamp are all here. I'm pretty sure that none of the data I have sort of is repeated between the two systems, just because that other one's been running once per minute since 9 a.m. It could be that close to, like, 10, 15 minutes ago, I have more data than I need, but that's okay. That's okay. The files that you're going to get are good to go here, and the SQL scripts that you're going to get are good to go. All right, so we have the data here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure everything is good. So I'm just going to select star from this table. And there we go. Now we can see all of the values here. Now, something interesting is that if you have the latitude and longitude, not only can you position something on the map, but you can also see from one timestamp to another, the distance between those two timestamps. And if you're able to track the distance over the course of, let's say, 1 minute or 1 hour, that means you can also gauge the speed. So that is what I'm looking to do here, possibly in an additional stream, or just during the week. I'm going to do like silent streams. So maybe that's what I'll go ahead and do during the silent stream. And if you want information on sort of how to do that, all you have to do is go to sqldevdba.com. Here's my socials here, which should have my website. And if you go to my blog post and open up the T-SQL Tuesday Visualizing F1 Team Journeys, you'll see that I actually have a Power BI report that does exactly that. It tracks the distance between races for race weekends on Formula One teams. So it shows from one part, or from one racetrack to another, how far the distance is. And if I do that with the International Space Station, I'll also be able to tell what distance was traveled in the span of 1 minute, and then also, convert that to hours to get distance traveled in 1 hour. So this does have an interactive report, by the way. If I just click right here, the interactive report will open up and you can play around with it. I have to update this for 2025 because I haven't. I only have 23 and 24 here, so I am going to go ahead and update it for 2025 and sort of get this going. I'm pretty anxious to do that. But if you want to know, I have all the code available down here, including the video of how I did it. There's me 2 years ago, I think, something like that. Here's all the code that you can copy for Power BI and for SQL Server. I have functions for both of them, so that's pretty cool. All right, so if we go back, again, we can see all that data here. That's all well and good. Now I want to focus a little bit on this, because the next step, actually, let me sort of stop for a second and sort of review what we've done so far. We explored the website, where the API is available. Again, if you type exclamation project or exclamation dataset, you will see open-notify.org is the website we've been using. We reviewed the website itself and the documentation. We queried the API using Postman. Then we use PowerShell to automatically download the data back to our system as a CSV. Then we imported these CSVs into SQL Server, and now we're about to explore those with Power BI. So now that I'm staging this data up for Power BI, what I want to make sure is that I build views instead of just give Power BI direct access to my tables. Now I do have a video. That video is going to be right up here of why I choose to take that approach and not just give Power BI direct access to my tables for security, flexibility, all sorts of other reasons. And I do have that video that will walk you through why I do that. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just build a view. And to do that, I'm going to give this table a little alias here. Actually, I'm not going to. I'm just going to hit tab, and then I'll delete all these prefixes here because they're really just not necessary. Okay, so when I select it again, I'm just going to go ahead and add the database that we're on, ISS tracker ENG. Make sure that works still, and there we go. Now, the message, as you can see, has no data in it. So I could technically just have like a case statement that says case. When the craft column is not null, then success, else fail, end as message. And now basically I'm telling the system if there's information in the next column, then that means things went well. So I'm going to go ahead and just call it a success. And there we go. Now I formatted it so it looks a little bit better. And then the same thing for these numbers. What if there were a way to just get the number that was retrieved for this data collection timestamp? So this batch, which is at 1653, this batch, which was at 1654, and another which was at 1655. What if I could just get the number of records I got back during those batches? Well, you can. What we're going to do is we're actually going to build a separate query, and that separate query is just going to be distinct data collection timestamp from this table, like this. And now you can see the 3 batches. But what else can I do? I can say, well, count the number of distinct ID values that you have for each one of these batches as unique records. And you can see here, once I delete these prefixes again, why is it not giving me that? Is it messed up? Oh, it's because I need a group by, right? Because I'm counting by the timestamp. So group by. And now we can see that for each timestamp, there are 12 records. There's three timestamp values and 12 records for each. So can't we just take this as a subquery and a new column like this, open up, paste and close up, and then tab all this stuff in so we can tell it's a subquery like that, like this. There we go. And now what I want to do is make sure that it doesn't give me a single value error. So it's going to say, hey, only one expression can be specified in that subquery. So I'm like, okay, fine. All I care about is the count anyway. I don't care to know the timestamp because it's already here. So I'm just going to make the select count from the table, basically the same query. And when I do that, it says subquery return more than one value. And that's really weird. So what I'm actually going to do is add a where clause and say this is a subquery. So sub PISH. And this is the primary table. So I'll just call this as PISH. And I'm going to make sure that the where clause says where sub PISH dot data collection timestamp equals PISH dot data collection timestamp, which is right here. And of course, it gave me all these prefixes again, even though I asked it not to. We'll do that. We'll delete this and delete this. And hopefully that works now. Now it's telling me, hey, only give me the total for this particular timestamp. And let's see if that works. There we go. So now I can show that there were 12 values in each one. If I deleted one from one of these, it would just switch to 11. Or if I deleted two, it switch to 10. If I added one, it would go to 13, that sort of thing. But only for that particular timestamp. So what I'm going to do is actually replace the value of number with this sort of dynamic calculation. Am I doing that right? Yep, I'm in the right query. Okay, so that's my query now. Now I have both the message and the number dynamically generated. And that means that I can actually turn this whole query to consume into Power BI into a view. So I'm going to create view dbo.vw and then people in space historical. So VW, people in space historical. I'm just going to add a few comments. Again, who you can yell at. 0309-2025. Live on Twitch. HTTPS. Twitch.tv/SQLDevDBA. And this returns historical data for people in space. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and just create this view. And now I'm going to do one more for the ISS locations, especially these big old ones here. So let's just go ahead and pull this up. And we'll just sort of repeat the process that we just did here on the right side. We'll just repeat it on the left. So we have all the values. That's looking good. I don't really need anything dynamic except maybe, the timestamp, right? So I'm going to do two dynamic columns here that I actually didn't do yesterday at first. The first one I'm going to do is a concatenation of the latitude and longitude. So here I'm just going to say concat latitude. I'm just going to give this a small like ISS LH or something. Like an alias, because otherwise it'll just keep messing with me. Concat latitude, comma, a comma, and then longitude as lat. I'm going to call this lat long combined. Why? Because this will give me a singular value that has both coordinates. Just in case you're dealing with a visual that only takes the coordinates as a pair in one value, you can do that. You can also do this in Power BI, right? That's absolutely fine. But this is why I use views, is because I can just add dynamic values like this. The other dynamic value I need to add is this timestamp here. I need to convert the Unix timestamp from number of seconds after 1970 0101 to actual time or date and time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the date add function to add second to, I'm going to add this many number of seconds, whatever value timestamp is, and I'm going to add that to 1970 0101 as timestamp calculated. And now you can see that the timestamp calculated value has more or less the same exact value as this data collection timestamp. It's a little bit off, as you can see, a couple seconds off every now and then, but that's where it was supposed to be. Basically, the timestamp it got, I called it a couple seconds later, or I think it was a couple seconds later in PowerShell. So this is the date and time that I got the data, but this is the date and time that the data is as of. So that's really important to know. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use these same comments And I'm just going to build a little view. Create view. DBO dot. And then we'll say VW. ISS location. I want to make sure I publish it to the correct database, which I am. Okay, great. I forgot the as. There we go. All right, so we created the view. Now we're going to go ahead and go to Power BI. We are done with our SQL Server portion. We'll leave it open just in case we need to make any modifiers, but we're essentially done. And we can now move into Power BI and showing this data on the map, because that's probably why you're here. I said in the title that I can track the ISS, and I haven't done that yet. This whole video has been on how to set it up so that you could do it. And I want you to be self-sufficient. I don't want you to have to depend on anyone else to do it. So that's why we walk through the entire process. And not just that, but I want to make it very clear that as a hiring manager, what I look for in data analysts, data engineers, whatever, is someone that can take things from start to finish. Someone who doesn't have to rely on someone else to source their data from them. Someone who at least is familiar enough to where they could take on the task if they really needed to. If someone's on vacation, or just if we're down a person, I want to have my team be able to do everything so that they at least know not only how to do it if they need to substitute someone, but also that they know how much work their teammate's job is. Because I can't have people going, oh, yeah, it's no big deal for that person to do it when they have no idea how they do what they do. So I want my team to know exactly how things work on the other side, just so that they can get a better understanding of their job and their team as a whole. All right, so let's open up Power BI. And all we have to do is import our files. So the first file I'm going to import, I'm going to go ahead and name it. I'm going to go ahead and name this file differently. This is the file right here, ISS Tracking Stations Historical. And this file will be included in the Google Drive link, by the way. So you will have access to this file. So I'm going to create a blank report. And first, I'm going to show you how to import these as CSVs and work from them. But then I'm also going to show you how I usually work with the data, which is with SQL Server. And if you need directions on how to switch from one to the other, like if you've already done all the work with the CSV and you want to switch it over to a SQL Server or Oracle database, I have a video on exactly how to do that. That video is going to be right up there, but it's basically how to trick Power BI into thinking that the source that you're using has been the new source all along. It's really, really easy to do and takes like 5 or 6 minutes to do. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get data, and then we'll choose text and CSV. Now, the stations historical file, which is this one right here, is going to be in my downloads folder. So I'm going to open that up, and that one has 200 plus records in it. So you see right here it says data type detection based on first 200 rows. I like to do based on the entire data set, and it automatically chose the delimiter for us to be a vertical bar. That's great. My data looks good, so I'm just going to go ahead and import it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit get data again. And now I want to look for my people in space file. So go to C, go to ISS tracking info, and I have my people in space, which is the astronauts historical. I'm going to go ahead and open that up too. And I can see the data looks good. This can be based on first 200 rows because there's only like 36 rows, but I like to just always choose this option of based on the entire data set anyway. All right, so now we have both of our files in here. Again, this is if you don't have a database to work with, but if you're watching this, you know that I made videos on how to use Azure SQL DB, which is 100% free now with limited capacity. You will be able to use it in Power BI. In fact, I've done that on stream as well. So just know that that is an option if you want to explore databases, and it's very easy to set up. So I'm going to go to recent sources here. Or actually, I'm going to go straight to SQL Server now, and I'll choose SQL Server. The server I want is MicroPC1, and the database is ISS Tracker ENG, I think it's called. ISS Tracker ENG. ENG, there we go. Hit OK. And Now we can see our two views here. Those two views are the ones that I want to pull. I don't want to touch the tables. I don't want Power BI to have access to them. As you can see, because they are views, they have our additional columns. I don't have to do any calculations inside of Power BI, any concatenation or anything like that. I can do all that stuff in SQL Server, and that's my preferred method because I get way more control that way. Load, and it's a lot less work for Power BI too. All right, so now we have all of our data. If you are only working in using CSVs, I'm going to really quick just show how to add the message column and what else was it? The number. No, number of people I'm not going to show. You can figure that out for yourself, but at least the messages column, I'm going to go ahead and show it. I'm just going to right click and create a new column here and just say message equals if craft is not blank, basically. If is blank craft, then it's fail, else success. So basically it should say whenever, and I'll write a comment here because I like comments. I'll say if craft value is blank, then fail, else success. That's how I write my comment there. I'm going to click OK. And if we go look at this data, I should see success everywhere, which is good. All right. And then the other one again is just count how many there are for this particular data collection date. It would take like five or so minutes for me to do it. If you want to do it in Power Query, that's cool too. I do all my calculations in SQL Server, so I barely need to do this sort of stuff. But for this one, which is the CSV one, I do want to make sure I give you the timestamp and the combined lat long. So I'll create a new column here for the ISS tracking stations historical. I'll call this timestamp calculated, and I'll make that equal to, let's see, date. So it's the date 19. Oh, that's what we had to do yesterday. Now I remember. I'm just going to make a new column called Unix time equals a date of 1970/01/01. And you might have a better way to do this. That's absolutely fine. Again, I don't care enough because I never do calculations in Power BI like this, or I barely do them. I do all my work in SQL Server, so it really doesn't really matter to me. So I created a new value called Unix time, and that's just basically a constant. You can technically do this as like a parameter or as a measure, I guess, and just leave that as a constant value. That's absolutely fine. But now what I'm going to do is create another column and just say timestamp calculated equals date add Unix time. So we're going to add to the Unix time is our first argument there. Number of intervals is going to be whatever value timestamp is, and the interval is going to be seconds. Oh, nope, seconds. So what I need to do is say, since this only adds days, what I need to do is divide the timestamp by 86,400 because that's how many seconds there are in a day. So let me organize this a little bit better. So tab it out a little bit here. Why is this here? Does it need that? I don't think it needs that. Why is it here? That's weird. I might have to remove this dot date. Maybe it just auto completed for me. And just say add number of seconds divided by 86,400 seconds in a day to Unix epoch time. All right, and let's see if that works. We'll go to the data and we'll see our Unix time is that, but this is completely blank. So something went wrong there. Let's see if we can get it to work better. I think this whole like date thing, I don't think it's necessary, is it? No, it's just completely blank. All right, what did I mess up on? The timestamp divided by 86,400 is the number of seconds I wanted to add. I wanted to add this number of seconds to the Unix time, and this is days, so it needs to be, yeah, it's days. It's days. Okay. Looks like it was not correct. Luckily, I did this correctly yesterday. So I might be able to just do, instead of date add, I can just take the Unix day and just add it, right? I can just add this much instead of using date add. And this will just add the number of days, I think. Let's see if that works. Yep, sure did. It sure did. Oh, but this is a bit weird. Oh, yes, this is because this is this was the date time, and I guess I collected it wrong over here. I should have been collecting it this way instead. So I need to go fix my automated run to use Unix timestamp instead. Or did it already do the conversion for me? It may have done the conversion over for me, because I could have sworn that the values were correct Unix timestamp ones. I want to say that Power BI automatically converted this. Anyway, doesn't matter. I just wanted to show you how you can do the conversion on your own if you're just using the CSV files. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and play around with the SQL Server version of the files, just because I trust that more and it's easier for me to adjust. So what I like to do is just create quick tables that show me all of the data. So I'm going to use ISS Tracking Stations Historical. That's not the one I want. I want the SQL Server ones, which are the VW. So I'm just going to insert the ID. I'm going to insert the message. I'm going to insert the latitude, the longitude, lat long combined, my timestamp, and my timestamp calculated. And we can see here that I got all sorts of oddities. First, this count of ID, I want to go ahead and say don't summarize. Sum of latitude, right click and don't summarize. Same for longitude, right click and don't summarize. And what I want to do is for latitude and longitude, I want to make Power BI aware that these are latitudes and longitudes. So I'm going to do that by clicking up here for each one and selecting the data category to be correct. And we can see that they now have like little globes on top of them. And you can do this for the CSV versions as well. Not only that, but I have, looks like timestamp calculated decided to go into like this whole hierarchy mode. So I'm going to right click and just select the field itself instead of data hierarchy. And now we are good to go. There we can see the data and it looks good to me. Now, the next thing I want to do is create a table again, but for the people in space. So again, I'm going to hop over the ID, the message, the name, the craft, and I'm going to put the craft sort of above here like this. Did I do it right? No, I didn't. I'm going to slide it up a little bit. There we go. Now the craft is above the name and the data collection timestamp. I can also put the number in here just because. It looks like count of ID went into count mode again. I'm going to right click and say don't summarize. Same thing here for the hierarchy. I'm going to select that to be off. And now we can see the actual timestamps. Sum of number, again, I do not want to summarize that. So now we can see here's the ISS history and here's the people in space history. Now, again, the moment everyone, if you're watching this video, this is what you've been waiting for probably, and it is right here. I'm just going to build a new page, and then I'm just going to select a map, a standard map visual. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. And what we're going to do is using the historical data, we're going to drag latitude to latitude and longitude to longitude. And this is what we wanted. We are able to track the location of the ISS over the span of, I think here it was about 4 hours. So I just want to make you, about 4 hours here. So I just want to let you know that this is possible here with Power BI. It's really, really cool to see. And I'm just going to keep letting the application run and then maybe have a filter of the time span, right? So if I want to, I can do something like, I can't really do that. I would say I can maybe group things into like the hours of the day. And that way we can build a filter of everything, right? Let's see. Let's see if I can do that in SQL Server really quick, because we already got, I mean, this is what you came for. You can take it from here kind of thing. So now I'm just going to get a little bit curious. What I'm actually going to do is create another one, and I want to see what Azure maps look like. And possibly you can find another map visual that you like even more that'll help you track it even more. So I'm going to do this again, latitude and longitude. You can play around with Azure a little bit more. Like if you want a night mode and you want to see everything superimposed, if you want to change the, I don't know, the size of the bubbles, that's fine too, and make them smaller. If you want to make them a different color, that's all good too. I like to use just this one and the Azure one, because when I go to share these reports with you, you are going to be able to see that data here when I publish it, whereas you can't necessarily see it when I don't publish it. So, or sorry, when I use like custom visuals, you might not be able to see the visual. So I do want to make sure that you are good to go there. But if I wanted to, in the timestamp, I could put like tooltips in the timestamp and just say minimum. So now when you hover over here, you can see the timestamp here. I'm using the wrong one, right? I want the data collection or the timestamp calculated value. That's what I want here. So you can see when I hover over here, you can see the date and time that it collected. So I'm going to say timestamp, and in parentheses, I'm going to say UTC. And there we go. We can see it right here. It's really, really cool to see this stuff. It looks like there was some oddities right here, though, that it caught it a little bit weird. It must have been from my other data source, maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe it was just a little messed up in the calculation. So I'll show this over to Nathan to see if he's interested in reviewing this data to see if there's anything he needs to fix over South America, or if that's just how it is. That's just how it is. All right. So let's just do a map. And here we can say just Azure map. And again, I want this to be night. I don't know why it switched over, but I like it like this. And I'm going to say data grid. I know we can probably make some designs here, and I want to do that, but I'm also really hungry. So what was it that we wanted to do? Oh, see if we can come up with a way to filter things, right? So this is people in space, but what if I wanted to do for this ISS station? Can I come up with a way to sort of truncate this down to the hour, the timestamp calculated, or the data collection timestamp? How would I do that? I think I can do it by, okay, let's see if I can. First, I'm going to come up with a date. The date is pretty easy. The date, all I have to do is cheat a little bit and cast this data collection timestamp as a date, as data collection timestamp date only. And now we have just a date. But the problem is all of these are pretty much the same. Maybe it switches over to 310 at some point, but right now they're all the same. I want one where it's the hour, truncate it down to the hour. And they're like, if you're using Oracle, you usually can truncate down to the hour. With SQL Server, it's not as easy. Maybe you can convert like a timestamp or something, but the easiest way that I can think of to do it right now is to get the date diff in hours from 0 to the data collection timestamp. Let me see if that works. And then we can add stuff to that. Okay, so that's how many hours from 0 to now. And then what we do is we add that. So we say date add hour this amount to 0 as data collection timestamp hour, like this. We'll comment that because we don't really need it right now. And now, if you look, this is the 1600 hour. This is the 1300 hour, the 1600 hour. Should be 14, 15, that sort of thing. And if you want, you can even do it down to the minute. Just do the same thing. Change the hour to minute and change this hour to minute. And now we have the minutes too. So those are easy ways to truncate the data. And now what we're going to do is do the same exact thing for the initial timestamp that we have here. We're going to do that same thing for this value, which is the timestamp that it gave us, not the timestamp that we are using, because that's the more important one. So all I have to do is substitute this entire thing right here and just say timestamp calculated hour, timestamp calculated hour, and timestamp calculated minute. Now, when we search through this, hopefully my computer didn't die. Yep. Okay. Now we should be able to get all that data. So now let's go ahead and alter this view, create or alter. And why am I even doing this? Well, it's so that you can filter on the data. If I go ahead and open this report again and I refresh my ISS location historical data set, what I'll see is that I have lots of new columns now. And what can I do with those? Now I can choose to filter right here. So I can add to the filter. I can say, hey, you know what? I want down to the hour right here. And as you can see, this isn't really the best one to use because this is just by date. Power BI still hasn't figured out how to do time relative slicers well enough. So what I'm going to do is just change this type. I'm going to change it to a drop down like this. Slicer settings, the style is just going to be a drop down. Or you can even do like a vertical list. I just don't want to waste a lot of space. So here what I'm going to do is say, hey, where did it travel in the 1 o'clock hour? And we can see right here. Hey, where did it travel in the 2 o'clock hour? And we can see that. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And as you can see, I think it takes 45 minutes for it to actually circle the Earth, something like that. I think I remember them saying you get a sunrise every 45 minutes. So as you can see, it travels really, really far in the span of just 1 hour. Travels most of the globe, if not the entire globe. So just know that that's a thing. Anyway, if I want to select multiple, all I have to do is either clear that, or I change the slicer settings to say selection, select all, and remove this whole multi-select thing. I'm gonna go ahead and snooze ads because I think we're gonna close out here as soon as I'm done. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and allow them to multi-select. So in doing that, when I open this, I can select the 1 o'clock. Okay. Let's try this again. The 1 o'clock, the 2 o'clock, the 3 o'clock hour, the 4 o'clock, etc. So you can actually see that it has multiple selections available here for you. And let me go ahead and just let it do its thing. When I select multiple, you can see that it actually travels multiple times around the globe. But can I possibly change the color of these bubbles to represent which hour it was? I mean, it's pretty easy to see right here, but maybe I can do that. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this filter here. Oh, but this is data collection time. What I want is actually the other one, but it's all right. We're okay here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is change this to night. Again, I don't know why I keep having to change this over to nighttime or grayscale. Let's try that again. Dark. And let's see if I can change the bubble color. Oh man, my computer has decided it's freezing a lot. So let me see if I can just change the color to be a bit more dynamic. We will base it on a gradient of the VW location hour. Let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we can do that. Oh, can we not? I guess the date hierarchy is what we have to do. And we'll choose, no, I don't want the date hierarchy. Does it not let me? No, it looks like it just doesn't let me, which is a shame. But maybe what I can do is do ID and then just do the maximum value of ID. So like the longer it's been, the redder it can get, right? So I'm going to say just a green, yellow, red. The longer it's been means the lower the ID. So this would be like a faint red. And then we have yellow and a green. Let's shove a green in there and say okay. So the green ones are the ones that are closest to now, and the red ones are the oldest. So here what I'm gonna say is just in the title or something, or just add a text box that says, hey, green equals older. Green equals older data. Red equals older data. Red equals older data. Green equals newer data. Which is really like, it's all relative, I guess. Let me make sure that they can select. Yep, they can still select it. You can use this little eraser here. And I think we're good to go. I think we're good to save this and sort of publish it. I want to publish this so I can show my brother because he was interested in knowing. That's really the only reason I'm publishing it right now. ISS tracker ENG. We're going to save it and then we're going to publish it really quick. And for anyone who wants to see it, you can see this really early version of it right here. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and save it, publish it to web, and then share it with you all. And then I'm going to go cook because I'm hungry. powerbi.com. And I'm going to go find it. Data discoveries. Here it is right here. ISS tracker ENG. I'm going to hit file, embed report, publish to web. Hit OK. What? Oh, there we go. It was asking me to contact my admin. I'm like, I am the admin. What do you mean? I'm going to hit copy, and I'm just going to share this here. For anyone who's in the chat that wants to see it or interact with it, you can feel free to. But I'm also going to just share it with my brother because he's the one I want to sort of send it to. All right. I think we're done. I think we're good to go here. So what I'm going to do is keep working on this. I'll try to make the report a little bit nicer for anyone who wants to see it. I'll share the code. I'll post a video. By the time you see this video on YouTube, just know that the code's going to be all down here. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. It's always a long one, but I want to make sure that everyone is able to do projects from start to finish. That is the goal of this channel, is start to finish projects so that you can be self-sufficient. You don't have to wait on anyone, anything like that. So Element Future says, looks cool. Thank you, Element Future. I appreciate that. I'm going to keep adding some additional stuff. This is really bare bones. But I'm really interested because I know you have immediate access to data from sim racing games. And I really want to see if we can collaborate on something, because I'm pretty sure I can have a live dashboard in Power BI that would automatically be available worldwide as well of your like immediate stats. So hopefully you and I can collab on that a little bit. That would be a lot of fun. We can do so right in private. It doesn't have to be on stream or anything, but I think it would be a really cool project for us two to tackle together, because you have the immediate access and then I can put it into an API, push it to Power BI live, and then share it, share it with the world. So that'd be really cool to venture on. But thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you to Element Future. Let's see who else was in here. Tape Error Dev, DZ Ubay, thank you for being here as well. I think Phantom Cap was hanging around, so thank you, Phantom Cap, for being here as well. Element Future says we need some data connector. I don't think we do, Element Future. I think you are the data connector. If you can get the files, if you can get the data out to some files, or if you can capture the data in any way, we can use Python or we can use PowerShell to write the data out in real time to a CSV file. That's what I just did here. I'm pretty sure we can work together and get this going. So I would love to chat somewhere in the near future with you to see if we can put something out, because I know I was actually practicing real-time stats with my computer stats. So like memory, CPU, hard disk space, all that stuff. I can get them live and push them out to Power BI live. So I think we can work something out. I'll ping you. I'll ping you on either Discord or just email and see what we can get going, because it'd be really exciting. Okay, see, Element Future says I can write it to real time to CSV, no problem. So that means you and I can collab, and I think we can make something happen here. So really excited to work with you if you're willing. If not, that's all cool, but hopefully we can make a fun project out of it. Jonathan, hola Jonathan, espero que estés muy bien. Estoy terminando todo ahora mismo. Como ven, estaba haciendo el mapa de la ISS, de la Estación Internacional Espacial, y aquí está el enlace si quieres ver el informe de Power BI. Element Future says, yeah, for sure, send me a DM, sounds fun. I'm still recovering from wisdom teeth removal. Oh, yes, I had those when I was like 17, 18. Those are not fun. So now a lot of coding these days, says Element Future. I hope you feel better. I wish you lots less swelling in your cheeks, probably, because that's what happened to me. And just take it easy. So yeah, thank you for hanging out. Again, I'm gonna go cook, and then I'm getting ready for a trip that I have this weekend, so I'm very excited about that. So I probably will not be streaming because I'm heading home to Puerto Rico, so hopefully I'll be just relaxing for that weekend. Jonathan dice, ya con nueva info o con la info completa veo el mapa que hay muchos puntos. Sí, la he estado automatizando desde las 9 de la mañana hoy, son las 2. So, tengo como 4 horas de información aquí y voy a seguir añadiendo. Element Future says, thank you for the stream. Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for stopping by. He also says, it's getting better, slow and steady. Fantastic. I know it's a process, and I wish you a speedy recovery for sure. Okay, so I think that's it. I think we can close out. Thank you very much to everyone for being here. Really appreciate you. Again, this is going to be posted to YouTube, so you are going to be able to download the data, the Power BI report, everything. Dice Jonathan, se ve genial. Muchísimas gracias. Esto es algo bien básico, bien básico, pero espero que con los videos que hice ayer y el de hoy, que puedes hacerlo tú como tal o cualquier persona que vea estos videos. So, muchas gracias por estar aquí, Jonathan. Thank you, Element Future. Thank you to everyone who was hanging around. I'm gonna go eat. Voy a comer, so I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.